allowed. So, so permissibility is the default status, and if something is not permissible, if something uh, is ordained by the God that it is not allowed, then for that matter we need evidence. For that matter, we need some evidence from the primary sources of Sharia, that is Quran and Hadith, and there are two secondary sources also. But as far as the permissibility is concerned, we don't need evidence. We have to assume that all things are permissible, especially in case of financial matters, in case of business matters. All kinds of transactions are allowed until and unless some prohibitions, some specific things which have been declared to be unlawful in the primary sources of Sharia, then only we will consider that thing not permissible. But normally, if the Sharia is silent on some matter, if Sharia is has not spoken about a particular matter in detail, then that matter will be considered as permissible. So if we assume if we keep this principle in mind, then understanding Islamic finance will become very easy, because the only thing we have to do is to identify whether there is impermissible uh, aspects in a particular transaction or in a particular business deal or not. And as far as the unlawful things are concerned, the prohibitions are concerned, they are very less. So say for example, there are three major prohibitions as far as Islamic finance is concerned. The first one is riba. Riba, or in general term, we can translate as interest. Uh, in India, normal people call it biyaz. So that is the local language. So interest is the first thing that is prohibited. Then the second thing that is prohibited is masir, which is gambling, or gambling and speculation. Uh, there is difference between gambling and speculation, but normally we can translate masir. Uh, the literal meaning of masir is easy money. So easy money, whenever a person goes in a casino, so the mindset of a person who goes in a casino is to become millionaire quickly, isn't it? So sometimes in the financial markets also, when a person enters with this mindset, normally they will say that the investment is not allowed, this issue, that issue. But once they come in the market, in the investment, then they try to become get rich quick overnight. So this kind of mentality is what leads to gambling, and gambling is not allowed. So this is the second thing is gambling, and the third thing is gharar. Gharar means the gharar means there are various details regarding this, but to understand it in very simple words, gharar is undefined terms and conditions in a particular contract. So if in a particular contract the terms and conditions are not defined and there is ambiguity as in the minds of the either of the party, the buyer, the seller, or in case of trade or contract. So if there is uncertainty, so that contract is not valid. Say for example, if the thing that I'm selling you, I have not specified the quantity of that thing. I have not specified the quality of that thing. I have not specified the manner of delivery or the time of delivery, etc. So if any terms and conditions in a particular contract is uh, not defined specifically. So that leads to confusion, that leads to conflict between the parties to a contract, and that leads to disharmony in the society because people will fight with each other. There will be legal cases, there will be long-term consequences, and people will hate each other because of this. Uh, because if there is a loophole in a particular contract, sometimes one particular party may try to deceive another party and try to benefit from that loophole, and the other party will, injustice will be done to the other party. So this leads to disharmony in the society. So this is the basic logic of gharar. So these are three, basic prohibitions in as far as the financial contracts are concerned. So the only thing we have to do is to look in a particular transaction whether it is free from riba, it is free from gharar, it is free from masir. If this is free from these three things, then normally the transaction will be permissible. The transaction will be permissible or allowed. And these are three big prohibitions, but there are other. So, for example, the nature of the business should be, anything which has been declared as impermissible in the primary sources. So there are a lot of other things. For example, wine, say for example. So the business of wine is not allowed, or anything that promotes immodesty in society. Such kind of businesses are not allowed. There are other businesses also. So if there is any kind of business which is in conflict with the basic guidelines of that is also not allowed. So there are other details also, but broadly the prohibitions, the list of prohibitions are not very large. The list of prohibitions is not very large. So we have to check. We can prepare a checklist and we can tick whether a particular deal, a particular transaction, a particular contract is free from those prohibitions or not. So if a particular transaction is free from those prohibitions which are declared to be unlawful in the Sharia, so we can call that contract as valid from Sharia point of view. So if there are two things, say for example, that there are two terms. The first term is compliance. There are two things, Sharia compliance. So Sharia compliance is a narrow concept. Sharia compliance is a narrow concept because it only looks at whether a particular contract is free from, the basic prohibitions. So if it is free from those prohibitions, we can call a contract Sharia compliant. But Sharia compliant does not mean that it is as per the spirit of the Sharia. Do you understand this, what I'm trying to convey to you? So these are two different concepts. One is Sharia compliance, one is Sharia based transaction. So Sharia compliance is concerned about elimination, and Sharia based transaction is concerned about understanding the spirit of the Sharia and promoting those, desired ethics and values and morals through transactions and business. So these are two different things. The first one, Sharia compliance is a narrow concept, and Sharia based transactions, Sharia based economy, Sharia based finance, Sharia based business, Sharia based you know, economics is a broad concept which not only looks at the prohibitions but also looks for the objectives of Sharia, what morals and values, what ideals have been has to be promoted in the society, taking care of understanding the spirit of the Sharia, understanding the objectives of Sharia, understanding not only the letter but the spirit of the Sharia also, and then designing a contract in a such a manner. Let me give you example. Say, for example, one of the characteristic of capitalism is that it promotes inequality in the society. One of the outcome of the present, the last 100 years of capitalism that we have witnessed, one of the outcome is income inequality. But as Quran says, uh, Likaila yakuna dulatam bainal aghniyai minkum. So there is, various verses in Quran from which it can be derived that the spirit of Sharia is that wealth should not be concentrated in the hands of few people, in the hands of a particular group. It should be distributed, widely distributed. So any kind of system that promotes decentralization, that promotes reduces the income inequality in the society will be desirable from Sharia point of view. But that will come under the category of Sharia based transaction, not Sharia compliant, because Sharia compliance is a very narrow concept which only deals with, we have to look only uh, for the things which have been prohibited in the Sharia, and just we have to just ensure that this thing is free from the basic prohibitions. And if we really want to promote something which is based on Sharia, which is inspired from Sharia, then we have to, make our view very broad. We have to look at the objectives of Sharia and incorporate those objectives in contract, in finance, in the system. So, now the next concept that I want to discuss with you naturally is the concept of maqasid al Sharia. So maqasid is the plural of maqsad. Maqsad is singular, maqasid is plural. Maqasid al Sharia means objectives of Sharia or aims of Sharia or the long-term goals of Sharia or the ultimate outcome or desired outcome of Sharia. So scholars have identified various primary and secondary objectives of Sharia, and this branch of study is known as maqasid. Maqasid, the study of maqasid of Sharia, maqasid Sharia. So this is not a very new branch of study. Even Imam Ghazali a few hundred years back, in 1100, I think, 1100 something, he was there, Imam Ghazali and Imam Shatibi. So these are the names of some of the pioneers of this concept. So they started talking about this branch of study, that is Maqasid al-Sharia. So what they did basically, they tried to understand the broad objectives of Sharia after studying the Quran, after studying Hadith, after studying the Sirat of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And then they come up with some broad objectives. What Sharia wants, what is the ultimate objective. So any system, any contract, if it is in line with the objective of Sharia, then we can call it that it is Sharia based or Sharia based transaction. So the study of objectives is significant as they reflect the spirit of Sharia. Spirit of Sharia. and help jurists in determining the prohibition or permissibility of any matters on the basis of ijtihad and qiyas. So ijtihad means logical reasoning, and ijtihad is required in cases where there is ambiguity. If something is very clear, say for example drinking wine, so there is no, need of ijtihad. But if there is some uncertainty, if there is some ambiguity, if there is some, something which needs explanation, further investigation, further study, that in that matter, ijtihad is required or logical reasoning is required. But if something is very clear, there is no need of ijtihad. So in matters where ijtihad is required, if we keep the maqasid al-sharia in our mind, then conducting or doing ijtihad will become very easy. Let me give you one example. That there is a concept of maslaha and mafsada. Maslaha is everything that promotes peace in the society. Mafsada means corruption. Corruption on the earth. Fasad, जिसे कहते हैं fasad, fasad fillers. अल्लाह ताला कुरान में फरमाते हैं ज़हर अल फसादु फिल बर्री वल बहरी बिमा कसबत अयदिन नास, कि खुश्की में और तरी में यानी समंदर में और अर्थ जो खुश्की में जो भी फसाद है, फसाद यानी गड़बड़, करप्शन, वो जो करप्शन है दैट इज दी तुम्हारे हाथों की कमाई है, तुम्हारे हाथों तुम्हारे अमाल का नतीजा है. यानी अल्लाह ताला कह रहे हैं कि दिस इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ योर, I mean, don't blame God for this. This is the your bad conduct and your bad doings, जिसका तुम जो है देख रहे हो. ज़हरल फसादु फिल बर्री वल बहरी बिमा कसबत अयदिन नास, कि लोगों के हाथों ने की कमाई है ये, जो समाज में जो बुराई है, जो फसाद है, जो करप्शन है, जो खराबी है, ये दिस इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ द रॉन्ग डूइंग्स ऑफ ह्यूमंस. सो इस आयत में भी और बहुत सी आयतें जिसमें फसाद और मसलहा का जिक्र है. फसाद, सो इफ एनीथिंग, if a particular transaction is is reducing corruption on the earth and promoting peace and tranquility, removing the conflicts, that kind of transaction will be promoted, will be Sharia based transaction. So do you understand? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Okay, so catering to the overall happiness and well-being of the people in the worldly life as well as in the hereafter, or relieving them of hardship, is the basic objective of Sharia. So basic objective of Sharia is overall happiness of the humans, well-being of the people, not only of the hereafter but this world also. Hereafter is the ultimate thing, but the worldly life is also important, and that is also the objective of the Sharia. जैसे मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दूं कि जैसे एक हदीस में the prophet has defined a Muslim. Who is a Muslim? So he said al muslimu man salima al muslimu biyadihi wa lisanihi. मुस्लिम वो है जिसके हाथ से और जबान से दूसरे लोग महफूज रहे, यानी वो किसी को नुकसान ना पहुंचाए, वो किसी को तकलीफ ना पहुंचाए. दिस इज जस्ट वन एग्जांपल. लेट मी गिव अनदर एग्जांपल कि अनदर हदीस जिसमें आवर प्रॉफिट पीस बी अपॉन हिम हैज सेड दैट खैरुकुम ली अहली, द बेस्ट अमंग यू इज द वन whose behavior is best towards his wife and his family, not only his wife but his family. ahli कहते हैं कि घर वालों के साथ. So the best among you is the one who is best with his family. So if someone is behaving is very in the best manner with his family, so he is the best person as far as the our prophet peace be upon him said. There are other hadiths also. So, and there are other verses also. So, removing the hardships from other people, लोगों के लिए आसानी पैदा करना, लोगों की परेशानी को दूर करना, this is one basic objective of Sharia. So anything, So helping other, relieving them of hardship is the basic objective of Sharia. And so ultimately, so Islam takes a positive view of life, considering man as the viceroy of God. Virtue does not mean abandoning the beauties of life, but enjoying those while remaining within the framework of values through which Islam seeks to maximize human well. So, in the Islamic view, the view of the world is very positive. The world view is positive. I mean, we have to enjoy whatever things have been given by the God to us. We have to enjoy those things. We can. I mean, there is nothing wrong. I mean, Allah says that enjoy, eat, kulu washrabu. जमीन पे टहलो घूमो फिरो सब देखो दुनिया दुनिया में टहल के जो है अल्लाह की नेमतों को देखो और सब चीजें खाओ पियो. So this is the I mean the positive view of life. I mean we the life that we have been given by the God, we have to take it positively, and we can enjoy the beauties of life, like eating, like traveling around the world, like going in new places. I mean we can wear good clothes, we can uh, I mean do business, we can do behave with our family, with our relatives. So all these things are not contrary to the Islam or contrary to the Sharia. I mean, Sharia says that enjoy, but there are certain limits. Those limits are, those prohibitions are very less, very less. Say, for example, eating. All things are allowed. We can eat all things. So, but the things which are prohibited are very less. Similarly, in business, all things are allowed. We can do all business. The things which are prohibited are very less. I've just given you example of three things. Three things are not allowed. Rest are allowed. But there are other details also. For example, taking bribe is not allowed. Taking uh, taking or giving, both are not allowed. Both are not allowed. So there are, so so this is the basic view. I mean, we can enjoy the beauties of life. Abandoning of beauties of life is not Islam. If somebody says that I will not marry because then I will just pray God. I will just pray. I will spend my time praying. So he is not following Islam because our Prophet married. Marrying is not against Islam. So similar is the case with every other beauty of life. It's allowed. The things which are not allowed are very less. And humans are actually viceroy of God on this earth. उर्दू में उसके लिए जो वर्ड है वो खलीफा, या अरबी में जो वर्ड है वो खलीफा, यानी इंसान जमीन पे अल्लाह का खलीफा है. So yani they have to promote the good values and ethics. So Islam takes a positive view of life, considering man as the viceroy of God. Virtue does not mean abandoning the beauties of life, but enjoying those while remaining within the framework of the values through which Islam seeks to maximize human welfare. It requires living a morally responsible life, earning only by fair means, and considering wealth as a stewardship for which account is to be rendered to Allah Almighty. And the ultimate owner of wealth is Allah, and we are accountable to Allah. Allah is the ultimate giver of wealth. We have to, earn through fair means, and if we have been given wealth, so the mindset of a Muslim is that ये अमानत है अल्लाह की जो हमको दिया है अल्लाह ने. We have to spend it responsibly, and we have to give the account to the Allah. We are accountable to the Allah what we did with the wealth that we were given by the God. So this is the mindset. So as these objectives, there are some objectives which have been identified by the jurists, by the scholars like Imam Ghazali, Imam Shatibi, and subsequently by Tahir ibn Ashur. He has also written specifically a separate book on this topic, that is Maqasid al-Sharia. So by an inductive survey of Holy Quran and Sunnah. So it's not that the maqasid, this branch of study is separate from Quran and Hadith, but it is derived from Quran and Hadith. It is based on Quran and Hadith. So by an inductive survey of the Holy Quran and Sunnah, the objectives can be divided into primary and secondary objectives. So primary is the most important objectives, and the secondary are which are based on the primary, but they are not as important as the primary objectives of Sharia. The primary objectives that Sharia tends to realize are the protection and preservation of these rights. Rights की बात हो रही है, देखिए rights. There is rights movement around the world, so rights. So not only the protection of these rights, but also the promotion. So here the promotion is not written, only protection and preservation of these rights. But if we take it positively, so not only protection, but promotion. So the first thing is religion. The second thing is life, then progeny, then property, then intellect, and then honor. अगर उर्दू में आपने इस तरह से सुना होगा, जान, माल, औलाद, इज्जत, अकल और ईमान. सबसे पहले तो ईमान है. ईमान यानी faith. So every human has a right to believe whatever he wants to believe. So this freedom has been given by God to everyone. Everyone is free to believe whatever he wants to believe. Nobody can enforce anybody to believe something by force. So this is the freedom. Everybody is free. Everybody is free. So any policy, any contract, anything, anything in life which protects the freedom of religion, or which protects the religion of humans or faith of humans, is desirable from Sharia point of view. We cannot force anybody. Force is not allowed. Life, we cannot take kill anybody. Nobody can kill anybody. Nobody can harm bodily, make bodily harm to anyone. Life is ultimate, has to be preserved. So nobody can, that is why abortion is not allowed in Islam. So because that has become a living thing. After 4 months, it becomes a living thing. And if we are getting that aborted, so we are actually killing it. So that is against this objective. Abortion will become, against this objective of Sharia, that is preservation of life. So every life has to be preserved. We cannot kill anybody. This is the one of the, basic objectives of Islam. और जो 10 commandments हजरत मूसा अलैहिस्सलाम पे आए थे, उसमें भी एक ये है कि don't kill anyone. You cannot kill anyone. So preservation of faith, preservation of life, preservation of family, preservation of family. The relationship between husband and wife as well as the children. So this is called a unit. This unit of persons is known as family. So anything that promotes the family, protects the family, is desirable from Sharia point of view. Then property. We cannot unjustly take the property of others. This is the negative, and if we talk about positive thing, then the increase in the property of every person is, in line with the Sharia objective of protection and preservation and promotion of the property of human beings. Everybody has right to own property and promote its property. Their intellect, reasoning, intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, all these things are desirable. Just few days back, I was, interested in knowing uh, how many times certain words are mentioned in Quran. I was searching, in Quran. So there are various words for this, intellect, अक्ल, उर्दू में कहते हैं अक्ल, अरबी में भी अक्ल ही की का वर्ड इस्तेमाल होता है, अक्ल. So anything which promotes अक्ल is desirable from Sharia point of view. तो याकिलून, ताकिलून कुरान में जगह जगह है, अफला याकिलून, वो सोचते क्यों नहीं है, अकल क्यों नहीं लगाते, व्हाई दे डोंट रेशनलाइज, व्हाई दे डोंट थिंक, व्हाई दे डोंट apply their mind and logic. So 49 times ये वर्ड रिपीट हुआ है, 49. अफला याकिलून, अफला ताकिलून, अफला याकिलू, यानी सिंगल के लिए अगर इस्तेमाल होगा तो याकिलू, अफला नाकिलू, हम क्यों नहीं. तो इस तरह से अकल से रिलेटेड वर्ड्स इतने बार रिपीट हुए हैं कुरान में. Means anything that promotes the application of mind is desirable from Sharia point of view. Preservation of life, preservation of human life, preservation of every life. Afzal Shamim is saying preservation of whose life? So basically preservation of human life. We are talking here about human life. Uh, I mean, scholars have talked about, and the Prophet has also talked about the preservation of human life here. And all other things are basically at the service of humans on this. Just as I mentioned that humans are a viceroy of God on this earth. और अल्लाह ताला ने कुरान में कहा है कि हदीस में है कि मैंने दुनिया को तुम्हारे लिए पैदा किया और तुमको अपनी इबादत के लिए पैदा किया. उसका मतलब इस तरह से. So every other thing is at the service of humans. So basically, here we are talking about the life of humans, not life of other things. Uh, but unjustly killing anything, so for example, unjustly killing a bird is also not allowed. If we are killing something for eating, then only that is allowed. But killing something for fun, not allowed. Wastage of anything is not allowed. So akal, anything that promotes, reasoning is desirable from Sharia point of view. Then the sixth item is izzat. The honor of every person has to be protected. Nobody is, exempted from this. Religion, life, progeny, property, intellect, and honor. Here we are talking about humans, not we are talking about, any particular group like Muslims. And when Quran talks about humans, insan. So this is a very broad view, and everybody, is on the same ground as far as these things are concerned. We continue with the next part. If there is any question, any query, you may ask. No question. Just let me slightly, explain. The protection of religion means achieving the purpose of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So similarly, the places of worship of has to be protected. और कुरान में एक जगह है जहाँ पे अल्लाह ने कहा है कि अगर और जो भी The place of worship of Jeeves is known as. Can anybody tell the name of that? What we call? Okay. Mojis Abbas is saying how is property and undeniable right. Every person has the right to own property, right to uh, increase his property. Nobody can snatch the property of another person. So why bribe is not allowed? Because bribe is basically unjustly usurping of the property of others. That is why bribe is not allowed. And why stealing is not allowed? Why stealing is not allowed? Because stealing is actually the snatching of the right of a person on his property. So जैसे उसकी जान सेक्रेड है वैसे ही उसका माल भी सेक्रेड है वैसे ही उसकी इज्जत भी सेक्रेड है accusation is not allowed accusation because it is an attack on the honor of other person so if we don't have evidence then we cannot accuse other persons we cannot accuse other persons without evidence because it's an attack on the honor of other person so So property means the every person has the right over his property, and nobody can snatch the this right to own property. Neither any government, neither any powerful person, organization, anything. If this is the basic right of every person. This is the meaning of property as protection and preservation and promotion of property. Any other question? I have doubt related to property law in Sharia, but it's not related to Islamic finance. May I ask? Okay, we will continue in the next class. Nahid, we may discuss if something is there, you may discuss in the next class. Or, okay, you may. I'm very fond of you're saying that it's related to Sharia, law in Sharia. So I'm fond of Professor Faizan Mustafa. He keeps, he's a YouTuber also. He's a vice chancellor of university also. He was a registrar in Aligarh Muslim University. Right now, he is a vice chancellor of Nalsar Law University. He keeps uploading videos on, Islamic law and Sharia. So, if you are interested, I recommend you listen to him. Very good videos, informative videos. How much struggle is allowed to restore your honor? How much struggle is allowed to restore your honor? Law has to be, this is the question that judges and, the qazis, they, so if they have to decide on this, I mean, how much punishment has to be given on some person who has accused another person, something which he cannot prove. So how much loss has been occurred due to this accusation? So this is the kind of question that judges try to solve. But at the very basic level, this is the ultimate thing that honor of every person is the ultimate objective of Sharia. We cannot dishonor anybody without having any proof, or with wrong accusation, with lies. It's not allowed. So if somebody has contradicted with our statement, we have to give evidence on what basis we are accusing someone. So if we cannot prove that the statement that we have given is not based on some strong evidence, then the judge may decide any punishment. Maybe it may be financial, and it may be some other punishments also which are allowed in Islam and Sharia. But this is not the in the hands of the person who is the victim. It is the job of the courts. It is the job of the qazi and judges. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for joining this
Thank you,
class.
sir.